I think this video has been a long time coming, but you know what? I'm gonna say it. You can say this is controversial all you want. I'm going to state the truth. Hasbro and Nerf has gone off the deep end, and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that they have become a company that I don't know what to think about anymore. And honestly, Nerf in general, the word Nerf, the idea of foam flinging, I just don't know what to think of it anymore. As a company, as a hobby, everything. It just isn't the same as it used to be. They're so much different, and I just don't like it. I'm just not for it. And honestly, a lot of it stems back to Hasbro as a company. They're a company that has pissed me off so much that I just don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to think about them. I don't know at all. So take this as the first and only official Nerf rant. Okay, so I need to start this off with a very, very clear point. There are way too many ammo types in the Nerf ecosystem, and I genuinely mean there are way too many. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's not really true. You're just over-exaggerating, right? Well, we got Elite Darts, Mega Darts, Ultra Darts, and Rival Rounds, Suction Darts, Whistle Darts, and there's Hyper All-Around, Arrows, Missiles, and the Titan Rockets, Streamlines, and Aki Strikes. I wonder who took it, Big Arrows and one, and the Vortex Frisbees. Is that all? No, you still haven't seen the Aki Strike variants of all of these Mega Old Dart Tag, and of course the TNCs. Damn! Point proven. There are too many ammo types. There's no reason for that many different types of darts to exist at all. I totally get rival rounds and full-length darts being different, and mega darts being different from the three of those. I feel like with those three ammo types, you basically have everything that you need. Because Vortex was kind of made obsolete with the introduction of Rival, since Rival rounds sail like Vortex does, so if you have a nice Rival blaster, you kind of don't need to use Vortex anymore unless you're using a really low FPS game. But what about all the other ones? The Titan Rocket, the Demolisher Rocket, all the different types of full lengths, all the different types of, everything. Why do Ultra Darts exist? Why do Hyper Rounds exist? There's literally no reason for this many different types of darts. And when Hasbro unveiled the N1 dart this year, I was so pissed that I didn't even want to do anything involving Nerf at all. I was considering just canceling any new uploads on my channel in any way. I didn't feel like it. It's so dumb. Why do they have to reinvent the dart over and over and over and over? Take a look at companies like Zuru or even Dart Zone. They use one type of dart. Two darts at most. Full lengths and half lengths. And that's all there needs to be. There doesn't need to be 57 different versions of the same type of dart on store shelves. It's so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for this many darts to exist. And the problem with that is that the more darts that exist make it harder for me and make it harder for other content creators. My collection is ungodly big. And so much of that stems from all the different ammo types that I've had to make different loadouts for. I have to make a loadout for every type of ammo type that I want to invest in. And half the time when it comes to these ammo types, I don't even want to invest in them, but I kind of don't have a choice, because in order to review the blasters, I have to completely invest in all these different types of ammunitions. Like, Boomco darts is one thing. Boomco's fantastic. It's one dart that fits in every single Boomco blaster out there. That's why I don't mind getting a whole bunch of Boomco straws and then looking at a few really nice Boomco blasters, which is something that I've been looking into in the future. But when it comes to Nerf ammunition, half the time they don't even support it for very long. I didn't even include Mega XL in the song that I posted a moment ago, because Mega XL only had 3 blasters made for it. That is right. Hasbro created a proprietary ammo type for 3 blasters. 1, 2, 3. That's it. There's your entire lineup. No more. Never again. They canceled Mega XL the immediate next year. Are you kidding me? And I know what the biggest argument that Nerf has is. Well, we need to make money somehow, and we make money off of the darts more than we make money off of the dart blasters. Okay, that makes sense. Why the heck does Zuru exist then? Why does Dart Zone exist? Why is Buzzbee still a thing? Buzzbee has been using the exact same type of dart for like 15, 20 years now? Like, they haven't made the old school suction dart in, God, like 20 years. It's been forever since I've seen any blasters released from Buzzbee that used that old school suction dart, which was mainly meant to compete with Hasbro's like whistly suction dart, the N-Strike suction dart. Why is it that every single other company out there has managed to do perfectly fine with one type of dart, one type of ammunition? It's because Hasbro knows that they aren't coming up with anything original for any new series coming out, so the only option that they have is, oh well, let's release the same things over and over and over and over and over again, but change the ammo that it shoots every single time. God! Ugh! So, have you guys noticed that in more recent years, we've been seeing a lot of quote-unquote similar blasters being released? And you might say, oh yeah, similar, in what way? Maybe they have slightly similar patterns on them? Like, you know, when Elite 2.0 first came out, every blaster looked kind of the same? No, that's not what I mean. First, I'm going to show you a picture of, bam. You see this? What is this called? This is called the Armor Strike. Get a good look at it. Study the details, look at it very closely, and bam, now fade back to me. Now, in a second, I'm going to show you a completely different blaster released a year earlier. Ready? Bam. I want you to spot the differences. Now, there's some obvious ones, like the colors and the shell details. But as soon as you look at it, and as soon as you start paying attention, it's the same blaster. Exactly the same. Same price, same capacity, same mechanism, same everything. Except the one that was released a year later, the green one, the Armor Strike, has been downgraded. The Slamfire was removed. They got rid of the Slamfire. Other than that, it's the exact same thing, but with a way worse grip and no redeeming features whatsoever. This is the case for so many different copy and paste designs that Hasbro shovels out each year. Here are more examples. The semi-automatic flywheel blaster, originally seen in the Strife. The 4-dart Smart AR pistol, first seen in, the Zombie Strike Crossfire bow. And of course, this stupid, terrible, cheap, godforsaken bolt-action, quote-unquote, sniper rifle thing, with some of the worst bolts I've ever seen, that on their newest model, the Corruptor, the bolt literally fell off during firing. Don't believe me? Watch this. Now, I know this looks funny, and it was in the stream, but when you really sit back and think about it, this is gross. This is so dumb. If you remember back to the N-Strike days when every blaster was actually made out of stuff, look at the long shot. That was what you call a bolt-action sniper rifle. That has one of the best bolts in history in the entire Nerf hobby. That thing is robust. You can make that one bolt handle do whatever. But this blaster, under moderately heavy usage, which anyone would use it under during a Nerf war, the bolt just left the game. That's not acceptable. That's awful. That's garbage. There's no excuse for it to happen. And it happened 2 times with 2 separate bolts, both of them being brand new out of the box, between 10 minutes each. 10 minutes. That is the maximum amount of time I got to use the second bolt. I had to actually go and get the spare bolt from my old BASRL and put that on the blaster just to make it through the rest of the testing procedure. How come I have to do that with a blaster that was released this year, brand new from Hasbro, when the long shot that I found at the thrift store that was faded, creaky, there were pieces, chunks missing out of it, just an absolute disaster, is still kicking strong and is still just as perfectly usable now as it was all the way back in 2004 when it came out? What kind of excuse is that? There is no excuse. Now, people have given Hasbro flack in the past because they've had an excuse to do certain re-releases, such as re-releasing the Strife from the original Elite Blue series to Elite XD, and then to Modulus, and they had a Battle Camo version, and they had the QC10 version, which was like a Europe exclusive or something. They did the long shot multiple times, first with the blue long shot, then the yellow long shot, then the Zombie Strike long shot, and then the Elite long shot, which never actually hit the United States either. But here's the difference between all those re-releases and re-releases now. Those re-releases were only made because their blasters were very heavily loved and they were going out of production. So Hasbro reintroduced them during the next production of blasters, which was a clever way to bring back the blasters that everybody liked so that everybody could still buy them. There were no changes to them and they weren't trying to be anything else. They were openly just the same blasters but in new color schemes, recreated when the old ones were faded out of existence. And that is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's a good thing, because let's say you wanted to get the original blue long shot, but you didn't have the chance to get it back when it was first being sold, you might have the ability to get the yellow one in the next run. That's how it works. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But these re-releases are blatantly hiding what they are, trying to navigate around the consumer base by looking like something cooler than they actually are. And don't you dare go into my comment section and say, it's for kids, it's for kids. Let me ask you a question. What would you rather have as a child? Would you have 14 different identical blasters with no difference whatsoever except they look slightly different, but they function the same, they feel the same, they work the same, they're all exactly the same but with slightly different cosmetics? Or would you rather get 14 different, completely different blasters, each having a unique mechanism and unique firing mech, even if it isn't like a completely original thing, if they like remix multiple things from the past, like they did with the Moto Blitz. The Moto Blitz is basically a Hornet plus a Raven at the same time. That's badass, and I love the Moto Blitz a lot. It's one of my favorite blasters released in the last 5 years, and I give it high praise for being new, original, and competent in its ability. But that can't be said for almost everything else, and it's driving me up a wall. So, I have a question for y'all. Have you noticed that Nerf blasters are getting a lot pricier for the same thing? Let's take a look at a very obvious example. This is the BASRL. You've probably seen it before. I mean, I showed it just a little while ago in the same video. But now let's take a look at the Viper Strike. This blaster is identical, and the only difference with it is that the Viper Strike is slightly smaller, and it doesn't have slamfire. Would you believe me if I told you that the Viper Strike costs $10 more than the BASRL? You'd think that I'm insane, but no. The BASRL was $30 and the Viper Strike was $40. You can't make this up. And this isn't even the worst example that I've seen. If we take a look at regular blasters like the Strife, and then we take a look at more glitzed up versions like the Ultra One was $50 and the Strife was $20 when it first came out. Now you're like, okay, well the Ultra One's a much bigger blaster and it's obviously got much more complex internals, except it doesn't. It's still just a semi-automatic flywheel blaster that, from everything I've seen, uses the same cage as the Strife, the same geometry as the Strife. Everything in it is exactly the same as what's in a Strife. No changes at all. The only change is the weird push-button lock pusher thing that they invented for it. Does that really warrant $30? No, it doesn't. $30 more? No, that's too expensive. And that's the case with everything. Every blaster release nowadays costs too much money, to the point where I can't justify buying 90% of Nerf offerings. I only buy something if I really, really see value in it, and I don't see value in anything anymore. Now, here's the thing. I don't mind spending large amounts of money on Nerf blasters if I see value where the money is being spent. Like, for example, buying something like a Worker Harrier. That's a worthy investment. That is a $200 blaster, but you're getting $200 worth of stuff. You're getting a blaster that is made like a truck, it shoots like a truck, it feels like a truck, it's a truck. It's awesome. It's a really nice Nerf blaster. And if you're going to get like a really, really nice Springer, it's honestly one that I would recommend more than a lot of other Springers, since most pump action Springers in the hobbyist market right now are 3D printed, and I just prefer injection molding because it tends to be more durable than 3D prints. Not in every case, but that's just usually what happens. Or a much more controversial example, buying something like a Titan CS50. Yes, it is just a rapid strike, rate of fire, hyperfire hybrid thing that is really, really big. But you're paying $100 and getting a big, comfortable, good-looking, fun-to-play with blaster. Is it practical? Absolutely not. But you're getting a lot of fun out of it. I enjoy playing with the Titan CS50. I wouldn't use it in a Nerf war, at least not without modifying the crap out of it first, but it's still value for your dollar. You're still getting enjoyment out of the blaster. There are different ways to get value for the money that you spend on Nerf blasters. It doesn't all have to be the most efficient thing in the world. Sometimes a blaster just has to have charm that makes it worth your money. And no blasters that come out anymore have any charm. Like, any at all. The last blaster that came out that I genuinely would believe had charm to it was the Double Punch, and even then, that blaster didn't seem like Hasbro was giving it 100%. It seemed like they were only giving it 50% because there are still weird inconsistencies to the Double Punch, like certain internals having metal pins holding them in place. Holding them in place? Oh my gosh, bro. I need coffee. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're like metal pins holding the internals of the Double Punch together, which makes it really annoying to modify. And the way that the linkage is connected with the dual trigger thing might be annoying to some people. There's also, like, unneeded parts of it, like the barrels that push back and forth, but honestly, I just think of that as like a tribute back to the Rhino Fire, which was one of the more underrated blasters in my opinion, since the Rhino Fire was genuinely doing something new, but I'm getting off topic. I'm just so tired of blasters not being worth anything and being charged for everything. It's so dumb. I just... yeah. Moving on to the next point. So, this has just confused me. And this has confused me for a very long time. What is Hasbro trying to do with their marketing tactics? Are they trying to be elusive? Are they trying to make people forget that they exist as a company? Are they intentionally trying to drive more attention to Zuru and Dart Zone and everybody else? Because it's working. I don't know what is coming out or what is being sold ever. Usually, I still don't even know of a blaster's existence until months after it comes out, because only then do people find it, and then they make reviews, and then I see those reviews, and then now I know there's something that I have to review. It's so dumb. It's extremely weird, and I don't get it at all. It doesn't make any sense why they have focused so hard on trying to keep everything that they're doing out of the eyes of the public. It's all about leaks now, and oh, but this blaster got leaked, and that blaster got leaked. And the only reason that they're getting leaked is because Hasbro refuses to say what they are. The N-Series Spritzer, this thing, has been out already. It actually is existing out in the wild, and a few of my friends have even said that they found it in stores. I don't even know what it is. I don't know anything about the darts. I don't know anything about the blaster. Hasbro won't say anything, and it's driving me nuts. Attempting to be a Nerf fan in 2024 is more challenging than trying to platinum Dark Souls on maximum difficulty. There's just no way to figure out what's going on unless you jump through all these hoops to figure it out yourself. You remember the Zombie Strike Contractor? I looked for that thing, because I actually wanted to take a look at it because I thought it was actually interesting, only to realize multiple years later that it was a exclusive elusive at, I don't even remember what the place is called, but they were only selling it at some super elusive place for a couple months. I didn't know that. No one told me. Hasbro didn't say that. None of the places said that. None of my friends said that. None of my friends knew. Nobody knew anything about the contractor until way after it was already discontinued. That pisses me off. That drives me nuts. Because now I will never be able to get this blaster, and it's not even my fault. It's the fault of these companies who will not say anything about the product that they want to push. It's so ass backwards, it doesn't make any sense. Let's see, if you were selling something, wouldn't you try your absolute hardest to make it known? To make it known what it is, where it's going to be sold, how it's going to be sold, and what it's going to cost? Apparently not, because apparently all this leak culture is much more profitable for Hasbro, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. And it doesn't make any sense at all. It makes so little sense that I have scratched my head for multiple days on end trying to make some sense out of it, and failing to do so, because it's so dumb that I just can't. I find it frustratingly ironic that I know more about what smaller, more elusive companies are doing than the biggest dart blaster company on the planet. I know more about what Worker is doing than what Hasbro is doing. Worker isn't even really that much of a dart blaster company. They're a Nerf hobbyist company. They make hobby products. They make mod kits and stuff. They don't really make blasters. I know more about what they're doing than anything about what Nerf is doing. The only thing I know about Nerf is that they are making N-Series. I know of a few different N-Series blasters. I know that the N-Series dart is completely different than every other dart type that already exists. And I know that they're doing something Nerf Pro. That's it. I also know of a couple, weird Fortnite things that are coming out that I have no interest in whatsoever because they're insultingly bad, and I just... So stupid! I can't take it much longer. I cannot take this nonsense from Nerf anymore. But we've got one more point to go over before I just cannot stand it anymore, and I am done complaining for today. So, I just have one question that I want to ask at this point. What happened? It seems like Nerf has gone from the best of the best when it came to foam dart blasters for about 99% of everyone who was interested in Nerfing to just the big company that makes bad decisions after bad decisions after bad decisions, and they refuse to make any good decisions. And the few times that they do make good decisions, they rarely last, like Mega XL being a series. It just hurts to watch, especially because I've been Nerfing for such a long time, and watching this company completely fall into disarray to a point where nobody even wants to use a blaster that says Nerf on it anymore, it's disheartening, and it really sucks. I want to see new things happen in Nerf. I want them to make new decisions, and I want them to make new types of blasters because that's what they're best at. They're best at coming up with goofy gimmicks that nobody else could really think of, like finding so many different ways to fling a foam dart, but that's not what they're doing. Every decision that they make is just a worse version of a decision they made a few years ago. They don't make any improvements, they only downgrade things that already exist. And that isn't just the case with Nerf. I'm going to bring up a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for months that some people might prove to be controversial. I am not happy in the Nerf hobby anymore. Not just Nerf as a company, but the hobby itself. And there are two reasons for that. The first one is just the lack of any form of originality with almost everything. Keyword, almost. There are still some cool things that are coming out in the hobbyist space, but for the most part, you can count on pretty much every new release that, whether it's 3D printed, or whether it's something Worker's making, or whether it's something else, to be a pump action Springer, or a solenoid full auto blaster, or something that costs way too much money that will only exist for about a week or so, and then immediately go out of stock and you'll never find it again, ever. Period. It's gone. Forever. There have been 3 cases of that already. The FDL3, the SBF, I think that's what it's called, and the Momentum. If you have any of those, you deserve a brass trophy. made entirely out of either brass or solid gold, and I will make it for you, because those blasters are damn near impossible to buy. And I get that, yeah, there's board limitations and stuff, but if the boards and parts are so limited, then why are you making them? Why is so much time and effort going into these blasters that no one will ever get to enjoy? Don't get me wrong, stuff like the Momentum and the SBF is absolutely amazing. They're works of mechanical genius, and I can't even begin to imagine how hard it must have been to come up with those designs and create them in such a way that they work. And they're absolute masterclasses in the world of 3D printed blasters and what you can do with a foam dart. But as a consumer, even with the right amount of money and even with enough time, I know that I will never, ever be able to play with them. I will never be able to get them. I will never be able to use one, probably, because they are just too hard to get your hands on. They're too hard to find, and they were too limited. That's not the fault of anybody who came up with the design, but it's just the cost of having such a difficult production run on such a difficult part. Even things like the Proton Pack, the board that is designed for the Proton Pack, that small octagonal board that the Proton Pack uses as its smart home board hub, whatever you want to call it, was really hard for Luke to produce, and as such, the Proton Pack has become extremely hard to get your hands on too. It's just a fault of these types of smart blasters, which means that they have short longevity all the time. But that confuses me as to why they keep coming out, because for most hobbyists, they're just too expensive to justify spending that much money on one blaster when you're not even going to build it yourself, unless you just really like stuff like that. And for everybody else who doesn't have the $600 it takes to get your hands on one right out of the gate, you're screwed, because by the time you're able to save up the money in order to get one, they're gonna be gone because they were just too hard to produce and you're not gonna be able to get one anyway. That's what happened to me. I saved up to get a Momentum, and by the time I had the money to get it, gone. Forever. I lost my chance to get a Momentum, and it wasn't even my fault. I couldn't save up fast enough to get it. But my opinions on hobbyist blasters are really all over the place, so I'm not in any spot to really say anything about those at this point, especially because I just have more important things to worry about. But all I really wanted to say to end this video off was, gosh dang, I really hope that Nerf changes for the better. I want to see this hobby go back to the way it used to be in a good way. I want to see the good parts of Nerfing come back and the bad parts fade away. It sucks watching Nerf be a company that everyone laughs at and says, oh, at least you aren't as bad as this guy, because used to, like a long time ago, people used to strive to be as good as Nerf. Like, every other company out there was trying to be as good as Nerf. And now companies like Zuru and Dart Zone are just mopping the floor with them, and it really sucks. I digress, though. This has been the rant on pretty much everything that has to do with Nerf that I just can't stand watching happen anymore and not saying anything. If you have any thoughts, post them in the comments. And as always, it's friendly conversation, so try not to get too aggressive with your opinions, as I've done my absolute best not to get too aggressive with mine, and admittedly failed a little bit. But whatever, it don't matter. Thank you all for watching. See you all next time.